So tonight we would like to get into a discussion about fallen angels in general, and I'm going to jump right over to Scripture to set the foundation for that discussion. Start with verse 3, actually, Jude chapter 1, verse 3. Beloved, although I made every effort to write to you about the salvation we share, I felt it necessary to write and urge you to contend earnestly for the faith entrusted once for all to the saints. For certain men have crept in among you unnoticed, ungodly ones who were designated long ago for condemnation. They turn the grace of our God into a license for immorality, and they deny our only Master and Lord, Jesus Christ. Although you are fully aware of this, I want to remind you that after Jesus had delivered his people out of the land of Egypt, he destroyed those who did not believe, and the angels who did not stay within their own domain, but abandoned their proper dwelling. These he has kept in eternal chains until darkness, bound for judgment on that great day. In like manner, Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them, who indulged in sexual immorality and pursued strange flesh, are on display as an example of those who sustain the punishment of eternal fire. Yet in the same way, these dreamers defile their bodies, reject authority, and slander glorious beings. But even the archangel Michael, when he disputed with the devil over the body of Moses, did not presume to bring a slanderous charge against him, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." These men, however, slander what they do not understand, and like irrational animals, they will be destroyed by the things they do instinctively. Woe to them! They have traveled the path of Cain. They have rushed headlong into the error of Balaam. They have perished in Korah's rebellion. These men are hidden reefs in your love feasts, shamelessly feasting with you, but shepherding only themselves. They are clouds without water, carried along by the wind, fruitless trees in autumn, twice dead after being uprooted. They are wild waves of the sea, foaming up their own shame, wandering stars for whom blackest darkness has been reserved forever. Now, I'm just going to relate from memory some of the things that I've shared over the years about some of the individuals that are under the spell, quite literally, of the fallen angels. Leaders in technology. Dr. Geordie Rose, co-founder of D-Wave, is a person I have many times cited in these live streams. Dr. Suzanne Gildert, who likewise worked at D-Wave, left D-Wave with Geordie Rose to found Kindred Robotics, artificially intelligent robotics. And from there, the two of them, Dr. Gildert, Dr. Rose, left and founded yet another company, Sanctuary.ai. In December, and I'm going to go to my notes here, December of 2017, I was interviewed by a friend of mine on the radio, on terrestrial radio, on Ground Zero Radio, by Clyde Lewis. This was December 21st. Of 2017. And I was speaking specifically about D-Wave and Geordie Rose. And I also brought up the breaking news in December of 2017 that he had founded Sanctuary.ai. It was not long after my public announcement of that information that Sanctuary.ai, their website, went live and they let the world know that they existed. At that particular time, when they first announced their landing page only, because as you have seen from the link that I sent to you of their present landing page, you need a password to get into their website. And such was the case when they first went public with their website. At that time, the graphic were concrete stairs leading from a room above, a building above, down into a dark dungeon-like basement. Let me give you the definition for sanctuary, not from their website, but from Merriam-Webster. Okay, Merriam-Webster, definition of sanctuary. The ancient Hebrew temple at Jerusalem, or its Holy of Holies. That's the first thing that Merriam-Webster cites in the definition of sanctuary, as a consecrated place. The most sacred part of a religious building, such as the part of a Christian church in which the altar is placed, the room in which general worship services are held, a place such as a church or a temple for worship, a place of refuge and protection, a refuge for wildlife where predators are controlled and hunting is illegal, the immunity from law attached to a sanctuary. Please fold all those into my defining verbally, describing for you their original graphic, which I have searched on Google Images and cannot locate, but very ominous looking. A set of stairs moving down into a dungeon, unless they were driven by fallen angels. Now, if you go to their website, to their landing page at sanctuary.ai, and I'm going to put that up on the screen. This is from Google Official General Intelligence. That's known as AGI in the world of AI. But look at the background image. It is a portal, and it is a very dark image. Why would a technology company choose dark imagery? Why would they do that? I'd like to present Geordie Rose in case you've never seen an image of Geordie Rose. He is promoting brains with artificially intelligent synthetic bodies. And as I've presented to you over the years as well, their proclamation, their statement is to build synthetics, what they call synths, synthetic life forms that they state, their words, will be indistinguishable from humans. That can only be done biologically. That will be done through DNA and RNA. That will be done through what we talked about on Sunday. Mr. Wilson asked the question in the chat room about the ability to 3D print with DNA. The bioprinters, three-dimensional bioprinters. Technology that Dr. Craig Venter, that I cited on Sunday, presented 10 years ago to NASA and has been researching and publishing papers on this ability to digitize DNA, transmit it through the cloud, and reproduce a biological life form at the other end using a 3D bioprinter. This is how this will be done with Sanctuary.ai. On the right-hand side is Dr. Suzanne Gildert that I mentioned a moment ago, who left D-Wave and Kindred with Geordie Rose, and they worked there together. On the left, in that image of the two females, is one of their nuts and bolts robots. I urge you to disavow any of their imagery, any of their statements about robots that they are building that are nuts and bolts, plastic and metal. That's the magician's misdirection. They are building biological synthetics. All this other robotic stuff that they look like themselves. Okay? Talk about hubris. And these are images from Google Images on Sanctuary. So these are their words. What does it mean to be human? Technology's final question is humanity's oldest. Synthesize our future. Our mission is the hardest and most exhilarating engineering problem ever tackled, and one at the intersection of social science, artificial intelligence, neuroscience, and robotics. And finally, machines like us, weaving together advanced AI and social science, we build beautiful machines with superhuman empathy. We call them synths. So that is straight from, and again, as I was saying before we were so rudely cut off, look at the dark portal. The question I'm posing, why the dark imagery? If you're just a technology company, if you're so benevolent, if you're working to better humanity, why are you going to the dark side? Okay? Why do they wear all black at the Women Who Code events, which I, from a spiritual discernment, I consider the leadership, which is Holly Peck and Suzanne Gildert, to be witches. Okay? They wear all black leather, black boots. There's multiple reasons for that, and I'll let you discern that for yourself. Look at the hand gesture. Okay? Geordie Rose I consider to be a warlock. I consider him to be the leader of what is a witch's coven. I'm not saying the general membership of Women Who Code are witches. I'm saying the leadership are witches from the spiritual discernment side. And he is a warlock and the witches serve him. Okay? That's why they're interfering with this live stream tonight. They don't like being called out. Okay? Marty Miller, H.P. Lovecraft fans speak for themselves, as does her artwork. Absolutely. If you go to Google Images, type in Dr. Suzanne Gildert or just Suzanne Gildert, Gildert, and look at her artwork, her dark black Gothic artwork. And she has it on Pinterest as well. If you just type her in, you're going to find that she has a couple of websites dedicated to her art. Okay? Now, give me a moment. I'm going to go to Google Images. This is not going to be a smooth presentation tonight, obviously, because of what's going on. So I'm just going to kind of leverage the chaos this evening and jump around a little bit. Let's see if Google crashed on me completely when the live stream crashed, and Google would not allow me to open any of my Google tabs. But I went back and recreated them. I'm going to see if Google's going to let me open again here. Because you know how Google is. Nope. Nope, they're not going to let me open Google. Very interesting. All I'm getting is temporary error. They have frozen it. I'm going to do a workaround here. This is live broadcasting, folks. This is just the way it rolls. Very interesting. Okay. So, I'm going to go from memory, but I'm going to read to you from this short paragraph from what I was talking about with my broadcast with Clyde Lewis on Ground Zero Radio from 12/21/2017. That show was entitled Tsunami of Demons with Anthony Patch. If you'd like to look that up, Ground Zero Radio, and listen to that. That was one of the seminal broadcasts I did, among many that I did with Clyde Lewis. Geordie Rose said that his D-Wave quantum computers are able to, quote, summon a tsunami of demons or aliens that are the equivalent of the old ones, spoken of by horror author H.P. Lovecraft. Additionally, the creator of D-Wave computers says that standing next to one of these is like standing at the altar of an alien god. These tools are pushing us ever so rapidly into creating, building, and what some tech leaders call summoning a race of super intelligent AI. On tonight's show, Clyde Lewis talks with CERN researcher and author Anthony Patch about Tsunami of Demons. That's on soundcloud.com, Tsunami of Demons with Anthony Patch, 12/21/2017. I would encourage you to listen to that. Clyde adds an awful lot to the discussion beyond what I'm presenting, but from my memory of listening to Geordie Rose regarding D-Wave at the time and their quantum computers, and just a few touch points, I won't go too far backwards, but just a few touch points back. Geordie Rose in 2015 made the statement that with the 512 qubit quantum computer, at that time, they're now over 2,000 qubits, but with the 512 model, they were accessing, his words, 2 to the 500th power of parallel dimensions. And yes, this does tie into UFOs because this is about fallen angels tonight. Okay? He calls them parallel dimensions. I call them just another dimension. He stated that if they were smart enough, if they were clever enough, they would be able to reach into these other dimensions and extract resources. Now, many of you have heard me say this many, many times, to quote Geordie Rose, but this is a good refresher, because this is what's all coming full circle right now as we are on the cusp, I believe, of the revealing of the identity of the Antichrist, which I believe as a human form is alive on the planet right now. He's hidden, but soon will be revealed by God. And part of that revealing involves D-Wave quantum computers. And since D-Wave in 2015, other companies have built their versions of quantum computers, one of which is IBM, which virtually has copied the architecture and engineering of D-Waves. And 2 years ago, I was invited to speak in Las Vegas on artificial intelligence to a national engineering conference. And at that conference, where I spoke about AI, the dangers of artificial intelligence and what is coming. At that conference, I indicated what I'm sharing with you tonight, that D-Wave's quantum computers were built for the purpose of advancing artificial intelligence. They move on parallel timelines, the development of quantum computing and artificial intelligence. And when I completed my presentation, members of the audience came up to ask questions of me, one of which was the head of engineering and product development for IBM. The head engineer for IBM for product development gave me his business card, was very cordial, very supportive of what I said. And I asked him, I said, could I ask you one question? He said, certainly. I said, why did you build your quantum computer in a identical fashion as D-Wave's engineering and architecture? And his answer was, why reinvent the wheel? These quantum computers, it doesn't matter which company, which university, which research entity, these are all designed to do one thing, among many, but one primary thing. These are tools of interdimensional communication, plain and simple. This is what Geordie Rose says when he says we are accessing 2 to the 500th power of parallel dimensions. And for the last 2 years, they've had the 2048 model, the 2000 model. It's actually 2048 qubits, but they call it the 2000Q. By Geordie Rose's math, by his own statement, they are accessing 2 to the 2000th power. An unimaginable number. That's 2,000 zeros, okay? 2 to the 2000th power of parallel dimensions. So let's go back to define parallel dimensions. Those are demons. Those are fallen angels. These quantum computers, by their own statements, not my conjecture, their primary purpose is for interdimensional communication with fallen angels, with demonic entities. And when Geordie Rose says that if they're smart enough, if they're clever enough, they can reach in and extract resources from these parallel dimensions, those resources are defined as forbidden knowledge. Because this is all that the fallen angels have to offer. All that they can offer to humanity through their deception, through their delusion, their deluding of mankind, the enticements of mankind, fame, power, their hubris is being fed, and certainly money. They are deluded into thinking that the forbidden knowledge that they are obtaining and they're striving to receive so as to continue to advance the technologies that are being built out. They are so deluded, so delusional to think that it is benefiting humanity. And now the result in Sanctuary.ai is to build replacements, biological, artificially intelligent life forms, synthetic life forms. Is that not blasphemy against God Himself, who created us? Is this not the same as the days of Noah? If you go to Geordie Rose, and I didn't do it today, I was looking at Suzanne Gildert's websites, but if you go to Geordie Rose's personal website, and again, from memory, he waxes eloquently and fawns over the dark side, promotes the dark side, as does Suzanne Gildert. Okay? Again, listen to that interview that I did with Clyde Lewis back in 2017, just before Sanctuary went public. By now, in 2020, D-Wave was supposed to have released their latest model, a 5,000 qubit computer. It was supposed to come out sometime in the first half of 2020. Perhaps COVID-19 has had some influence on their timeline. At any rate, I find it very interesting that they've not released their 5,000 qubit computer. I think it is being held, and this is conjecture, I think it is being held until the Antichrist is revealed. This is a quantum computer with over 5,000 qubits, 2 to the 5,000th power of parallel dimensions, of demons, of fallen angels. Remember, we've described, Kathleen and myself, quantum computers, and specifically D-Waves, as tools of divination. That they are a modern equivalent to the geomantic tools all through history that have been employed by man to divine the future, the prognostication. Now, this sounds like I'm being repetitive, but that's purposeful, to share with you information that I've been sharing really now for over 7 years, and with you as patrons and subscribers to Entangled Magazine over 3 years now. But over 7 years in totality, I've been talking about this. We are coming to that point where all the things that I have been talking about for 7 years are coalescing together for the purpose of revealing the identity of the Antichrist and to usher in his kingdom and all of the infrastructure and technology that has been built out in anticipation of his revealing. Make no mistake about it, when I say Geordie Rose is communicating with fallen angels, this is what H.P. Lovecraft was talking about. And Geordie Rose to Tech Vancouver a couple of years ago, to a group at Tech Vancouver at a conference, he was waxing eloquently about H.P. Lovecraft, as he does on his personal website. And he was speaking to scientists, to engineers, to researchers in the audience. And he was saying, and you can find all this on YouTube, he was saying that the great old ones are returning. Who are the great old ones? They're the fallen angels. He said that they would regard humanity as humanity regards ants. In other words, they'd have no qualms about stepping on us and squashing us. That they would have no conscience regarding humanity. And he was trying to recruit from the audience people to work at D-Wave at the time towards artificial intelligence and quantum computing for the purpose of greeting the great old ones and being able to communicate with them and to demonstrate to the great old ones that we were worthy of saving. He said that this was the greatest existential threat to humanity, the return of the great old ones. And that we had to accelerate our technologies in preparation. And again, not necessarily to fight the great old ones, but to join with them. Now the beginning of, and I've looked for this image and I haven't been able to find it, but the very beginning of that presentation at Tech Vancouver, this goes back now about 3 years. The very first PowerPoint slide he put up was a picture of me. Me. He didn't cite me by name, but he was opening his presentation talking about the Mandela effect. And that there are conspiracy theorists, apparently me, attributing the Mandela effects to the activities of D-Wave's quantum computers. Well, the way that I described the activities was the fact that Geordie Rose, having said 2 years prior to the presentation I'm citing right now, said that they were extracting resources from parallel dimensions, and also that they were receiving back 10% more energy than they had placed into these dimensions by way of the computer. And it was my summation from his own statements that this is what I was calling quantum pollution. That energy and information was coming through a dimensional opening created by quantum computing activities that was allowing information and energy to pollute our reality, to alter our reality. And that's about as far as I'm going to go into the Mandela effect tonight. That's not the discussion of choice here tonight. But he picked me out because I had been calling him out for years on his statements and his prognostications. Okay? I want to just underscore something here. I'm not sitting here in judgment of Geordie Rose, Suzanne Gilder, Holly Peck. They are humans like the rest of us, but unfortunately they are in a fallen state. And because they are in a fallen state, they are subject to the delusion that comes by way of Satan and his minions. Okay? Here's the philosophy from Sanctuary, their own words. Entirety of human civilization is the product of our minds and the way they work. Every future advance, from curing cancer and aging to building quantum computers, to understanding the origins of life, to becoming a space-faring civilization, will come from our minds. Being able to understand minds well enough to build them will be transformational in a way that no prior technology could be. No longer will we just be building tools that do what we want. Instead, we will have harnessed the process of thought itself. That's from Sanctuary. Again, is this not blasphemy? Is this not the epitome of hubris? To think that they can harness the process of thought itself? You see, these are the delusions of Satan that he's passed on to these people. They're delusional. I've said that for years. They're delusional. Okay? Mr. Wilson has sent a link with Geordie presenting the slide of myself in the background. Let's see if Google will cooperate and let me open an email. Let's see what is still functional here in this live stream. Nope, Mr. Wilson, I cannot open my emails right now, so I'll have to get it later. When I get it later, I'll post it to the patrons in the messaging system. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Here's the thing. Man has been tempted and deluded into believing the lies. These are the fantasies, as Kathleen likes to say, the fantasies of Satan. When he has fooled humanity into thinking that they can understand the full complexity, the full functionality of the human mind, that they can duplicate right down to the last neuron, to the last synapse, to the last dendrite, human minds. No one can create what God has created. No one can duplicate. You know, I've said that Satan counterfeits what God has created. Well, by definition, a counterfeit is an approximation. It is not an exact copy. You can never create an exact copy of any original. It will always be different. But people like Geordie Rose and Suzanne Gilder and Holly Peck, they don't understand that. They won't stand still long enough to listen to the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. If they did, they would have changed their ways by now and sought out Jesus Christ. Because I know those people listen to what I say. They don't like what I say about them. That's why they listen to me. That's why Geordie Rose put my picture up there, because he tried to make fun of me. Well, that backfired on him.